Welcome to another program sponsored by the Sherborn Business Association. We have today a very special guest, Jim Nelon, and his partner, Joe Davis. Jim, as an interviewer, has done many of these interviews, so he could probably correct many of the mistakes that I make along the way. But it's a pleasure to have Jim here, and I just am so interested in his new business that I think you will be interested in it too. It's a business that all of us can get interested in because we all have memories that we really, really want to remember. So, we have Jim Nelon right here, and we have Joe Davis right over here. And the first thing that I want to ask here is, Jim, can you give us a synopsis of your new business?
Sure can, Dave, thanks. Joe and I started up Memories Forever Studios about a year and a half ago. And what we do is to take that long-forgotten box out of your attic, and the box has all kinds of memories in it. It has tapes, films, slides, scrapbooks, prints, everything that you want to remember, everything that you've done, family, history, everything that you've done from Christmases and vacations and birthdays past, and all that stuff is sitting up in your attic somewhere in a corner. You haven't seen it for a long time. We would like to transfer and preserve all of those memories for you on modern media before those memories go bad. As you know, films can lose their colors. You can have floods, you can have tornadoes, you can have hurricanes, you can have all kinds of disasters that can affect what you own, what you have, and can destroy them or can waterlog them or do other damage to them. We'd like to get all those things from you before that can happen, and we'd like to give it back to you on modern media, whether it's on DVDs. You could have DVDs, and you could put them on DVDs, you could put them on a memory stick, you could put them on social media like Facebook, or out on YouTube, or out on Twitter, or wherever you'd like to have it, or all of the above. And we'd like to take that stuff from your attic that you have and convert it to that and preserve it for you. That's our business, called Memories Forever Studios. That's what we do.
Well, Joe, do you have anything to add to that?
I think he has covered it extremely well, and it's also very rewarding to be able to provide that kind of a service to people because it does require some technical expertise and some specialized equipment that most people don't have. The standard capability in a home computer doesn't match the kinds of technologies that are required to do a quality preservation job, which is what we provide. We have the expertise and we have the equipment, and we have a lot of very satisfied clients as a result of our service.
Well, that's great. I started doing this because I said, I'm going to be a client. I said, I'm going to have these guys do this. But I came up with probably 50 to 75 albums that are filled with pictures. I see you have some over there too. But we have those. We have 8mm films, which probably go back maybe 60 years.
Yeah, could be.
We have 16mm film.
Yep, could be, yep.
Which goes back a long, long way. I haven't seen them for years and years. Maybe there's nothing on them, I'm not sure. And the big question here is, do I have to review all this stuff, or do they review it, or what? But there are also slides, individual slides, which we've picked out, and there's also crib slides that you find on this in the
tray.
In the tray. Also, there are professional grade VCRs.
Just take a look at that, because this is an example of some work that we do, that we take old professional videos that you might have done in a studio. Well, this one dates back to 1981.
Right.
And we take this kind of media and we will convert this to something. You couldn't read this today unless you had some really special equipment and some old equipment. We take this today, and we will put this on a DVD so you can now see it again and keep it. And one thing we haven't mentioned is you can take this and send it out to your family, friends. They haven't seen it forever maybe, and say, do you remember this? And give you a quick story on that. We had actually a scrapbook of some pictures of a doctor in Natick, and he had graduated in the late 60s and had gone back for a reunion in the 80s, and he had pictures of both prints, like in a scrapbook. And he had given us the scrapbook, and we preserved that for him on a DVD, and we printed some prints for him on prints. And we returned that to him, and he was at his desk in his doctor's office, and I gave it to him, and he looked at him and he started crying. He said, I haven't seen these like this for a long time, and I want to get this out to my family because they haven't seen me and my wife are in the pictures, and kid are in the pictures. They haven't seen this forever, and now I have these. Now I can send them out to people where before they were in a scrapbook stuck in my attic or wherever on a bookshelf or something. And now I can get that out.
Well, that's interesting because I have these old 8mm films and 16mm films taken 60 years ago of my dad and mom and my grandmother and all that stuff, and I'm sure they'll bring tears to my eyes as well. One
of the examples that we have of a job that we did, it was a woman whose parents, whose dad was the head of the Boy Scouts, the National Executive for Boy Scouts, and she had some tapes of interviews of her dad, and her dad has since died. And those tapes have been sitting around since the late 70s. And she said, can you convert these? Because she couldn't read the tapes anymore. They were old enough format. Could you convert these tapes for me? Here's an example of something that's a really old format. Can you convert these tapes for me and give them to me on something that I can send out and use today? And we said, sure, give us the stuff. And we converted the tapes for her and gave them back to her. And she said over the phone, she said, this is just fabulous. This is something I never could have thought could be done. And now I can get it out to family and friends, and they can hear my parents for the first time in a long time.
Well, I'm still questioning. I don't know if Joe is, but I still question the ability of two men in their studios producing all this stuff. Like I have with me, I have 16mm film, 8mm film, VCR recordings, VHS tape, commercial tape, unedited
a lot of
film,
stuff.
partially edited film, slides, albums by the thousands.
Dave, bring it on. We're used to it all. Every one of those examples is something that we handle. Give one quick example here: stereoscopic slides. We got some stereo slides from the 1953 and 1958, and the woman said, "I'd really like to have these for the first time since 1953 and 1958 to be able to look at them again." And that was an example of something that was a little different that we preserved for this woman.
Interesting. Joe?
And I was going to say that example because that was something that you had not brought up. And I guess to bring closure to this point, we have not been given any job that we have been unable to fulfill yet. Now, that's not to say that there is some oddball format out there.
When there's an oddball out there, we will find it and convert it and preserve it for you.
And as another example, I also look at eBay, and when we have a need, which we are now satisfying because I went on eBay and got a vintage projector last evening. I bid for it, and I won the bid. So we are adding, as these challenges arise, to our repertoire of capabilities. So if we don't have it, we'll find
Get it. That's really interesting, and that certainly is a way that a progressive business works. I have a bunch of questions, though, that may bring more specifics into this discussion. I have a lot of old slides, should I separate out the saved ones or the ones that I want to save and throw the rest away?
Let me answer that. If going through, let's say, more than half you feel are valuable, then in the long run, it's going to be easier for us to, on a production basis, convert all of them, and then in a nice format, you can look at them on the screen and pick at that point. If, however, you find only 10% are really worth keeping, then it makes sense for you to do the sorting ahead of time. So I think it's a function of, gee, most of them are dupes, poorly exposed, not worth reproducing, then it's worth your time. But if it's a preponderance are...
But you can edit them on your film.
Absolutely.
And so
And
what if someone came in like me and I had 6 boxes like this filled with VHS tapes and I don't know what's on any of them. And I said, you know, I want to save some of these, but I don't want... What do you do?
Well, now we have on our website a price list for standard items where we can quantify. You have a tray of 50 slides. Go to the price list, and we multiply the number of slides. If, however, you feel I'm not ready to quantify that, then we have an hourly rate, and we will sit with you at that hourly rate in our studio, on site, our site, and go through it. And that way you'll have the right equipment, the ability to view, and make your decision.
So, Jim, it's okay if we come to your studio and sit down and edit some of this stuff together?
Yes, and we have 2 studios to do that.
You have 2 studios?
Yes, we have one in Sherborn and one in Holliston.
How about that?
And so...
fully equipped.
Fully equipped.
Well, that's interesting. Should we be giving you all of these tapes? I mean, I just have a huge...
We'd like to have them all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know.
And the question, and to Jim's point earlier, you don't know. There was an old radio show. What memories are lurking in that box? Yeah. And until you open up the box and go through it, you'll never know. There could be a gem in there. Hopefully a real gem, like a diamond, that your wife lost in there. But no, it's a function of how many you have and what you're willing to do in terms of time, because it is a time effort. And I think what Jim and I are finding is some people resist making that commitment.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at it and saying, oh, I know I know I should, but. And we are trying to help get through the but.
Right. I'm interested in the type of media, though. For example, I have a bunch of chips at home from my various cameras, and I have no clue what's on these chips at all.
Well, it could be SD chips, could be CF chips.
Yeah.
Could be all kinds of different media.
That would be the $60 an hour rate that we charge, where we just go through on a time and materials basis.
Do we do that? If I sit down with you, do we also have a time? Do we have an hourly time limit? Like if you and I sit down for an hour and go through stuff, is there an hourly rate for just that?
Yes.
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 Hourly rate for that. That's the time and materials. That's right.
Okay. Now, you have a cost sheet somewhere.
It's out on our website.
It's on our website, and you have an hourly charge.
We have an hourly charge.
You have a job charge.
We don't have a job charge. We have a per piece charge.
Per piece charge.
Yeah. So whatever we're doing is what we charge for, like per slide, per movie, per tape, per whatever you've got.
Image.
Per image. And it's all spelled out on the price sheet.
Do you have anything special there, Joe, you want to bring up?
Well, this particular album is a culmination of a week that I spent on the Nimitz in 1992, and
Take a look.
sure, And we had the run of the ship, and I was with my son, who was the assistant damage control officer on the Nimitz. And this has been in my attic. I'm as guilty as anyone else. And now that we're in this business, I am going to do exactly what you have said, make it available. There's a picture of my grandson in here who was 1 year old at the time. And there are lots of other people, friends of my son's.
All right, we know that that's important to you, and you're going to have that done. But that's the same way with all of my stuff. I mean, it's the.
Now let me give you an answer to that. If you get into your attic, your bookshelf, your album collection, your scrapbook collection, and you see a whole bookshelf full of scrapbooks, and you go, "It's just too daunting. How do I deal with this?" Start small. Start with the first book, and go through the first book, and don't go any further. Just do the first book. Look at that and say, yeah, this I want to preserve. Give that to us. And we'll preserve that and give it back to you. And if you're like any of our clients, you'll say, you'll cry a little bit, but you'll say, this is really fabulous. Let me give you some more. And you'll take the next 2 books, because now you understand how it all works. Take the next 2 books. We'll give it back to you. You cry a little bit more, and then you give us the next 3 books.
Okay,
and
so
you'll keep going.
that's good information. So I should really do this piecemeal basis.
Because if you try to do the whole bookshelf,
Can't do it.
it's too big, it's too daunting.
That's the daunting problem.
It'll be that you'll start and you'll get 2 or 3 books into it. Dinner time, you'll take the books off the dining room table where you've been doing this, because that's where you're going to have dinner. You put it back and you'll never get back to it. Start small, start reasonable, give it to us, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, this is all very interesting, because I've often felt as though I would just take this stuff and dump it on your doorstep and let you take it from there, but I can see that there are certain ways of going about doing this, doing it on a piecemeal basis, sorting out some of the stuff that you really want to save and discarding the rest of it. So you should have some preliminary work that has been done so that we know what to tell you to do.
Most of our clients do that, yes. Most of our clients take something that is small. Here's a slide tray, and they say, this is of a vacation trip. And this I really want to preserve. They've got 73 other slide trays of other vacations over there. Do this one, Dave, or Jim.
Yeah. Okay.
Do this one, and we'll preserve it, and then we'll come back with more.
Now, it's still unclear to me as to where I go to do this work. Where do I go to view films with you, or to, what is the actual premise?
The first thing you do is to give us a call.
Okay.
And the telephone numbers are on our website, and the telephone number is 508-647-0852.
And then you pick out the studio you want us to go
Correct,
to?
based on whatever makes sense.
I see.
We have fully equipped studios, and we'll figure out when and where, and we'll schedule an appointment, and we'll go from there.
And we also, let's say you don't want to drive, we will facilitate a pickup as well. And we have a mileage charge that is also on the website to do that. So, and then as if it's a distant relative who has something in Ohio, there is certainly FedEx, UPS, tracking, and mail it to us, and we will do the work and return it.
Okay, let me, go ahead.
I wanted to add 2 other features that we do. One feature is to interview your grandmother's a good example. Maybe not your grandmother, but we have clients who have grandmothers who would like to tell their stories. And we're going up to Maine to interview one of our clients' grandmothers in Maine, in Falmouth, Maine. And we're going to sit with her, and we're going to video her, and we're going to ask her about her family, about her life, about her youth, about what she did, where she's been, what she's liked, everything about her, everything she wants to talk to us about. And we have a pretty good way of talking to people to make them comfortable and to help them remember things that they might not have thought about for a while, and let them then talk about that in their own way, in their own pace, in their own manner, their own personality. And the personality comes through in the interview. And we do that. That's one of the things that Memories Forever Studios helps our clients capture those memories from anyone they want, actually. But the examples that we've heard most often are elderly family members who have those stories here that haven't been told for a long time.
Just about everything we have so far is personal, but what about on a commercial basis? Do you have any kind of a commercial aspect to
Yes,
your
we do.
business?
Let me take that. We recently were able to capture a wonderful evening at Brookline High School's Hall of Fame induction. And we were able to capture the individual speeches, the award recipients as they approached and received awards from their coaches, a full view of the entire 650 attendees at the George Sherman Ballroom at BU. And we had 3 different camera angles. We captured the entire audio component of the program. And we are going to make this available to the Brookline High School Alumni Association, the Brookline High School Athletic Department, as not only a remembrance of the evening, but a way next year to further advertise and create awareness about the event. And
So you do things on a commercial basis.
that was a major production.
Well, that's
documentaries of events.
documentaries. Yeah, I would
And-
say that would be a very important part of.
Multiple camera captures of important live events that you want to record and keep, and then make as a documentary that's available to other places.
So that brings up, that really was my last question about on-premise filming or off-premise filming for commercial purposes, and I think that kind of brings it to a close. But I just want to reiterate what I have gathered from this conversation. I'm a client, and I'm going to be a client, and I will be a client very soon. And I will bring you material that I really never thought I could duplicate or get into a format of a DVD that I could look at and show people without a huge production. And by doing so, we can take 8 millimeters, 16 millimeter, all of the different types of venues of films that I've showed to you, and put them into a form where I can be proud to show them to other people.
We'll perform that magic for you, taking
Yeah.
it from all those
Right.
different sources and give you back something that is currently
Right.
modern and a good form for you to use.
Now, if you both could just give me a summary of what you feel as though your business is about and how it works, we shall end.
Sure. We're unlocking those memories that have been around your house forever, that you haven't seen for a long time, that you want to share with yourself, your loved ones, and others. That's the bottom line, what Memories Forever Studios does.
And I would like to add to that, when Jim and I decided to work together, we had parameters. We had to enjoy doing it ourselves, and we wanted to provide a service that, when it was delivered, made the client happy and proud and glad that they did what they did.
And tearful.
And tearful. And I can say without fear of contradiction, we have not had one dissatisfied client. And I think that speaks well, patting ourselves on the back. That's the pride that we take in our work. And if it means doing a little extra off the books, we do the work, because satisfaction is far more important than profit.
Well, I want to thank you, Joe and Jim. I want to thank you so much for exposing your business to all the rest of us. I, for one, am going to take advantage of it, and I know that there are many people in Sherborn and the surrounding towns that need a service like this. We don't have one in town. Now we have one. So I think that you all should take a look at this video, see the possibilities that there is for your memories, and use them by all means, because that's all you have as you get older, are memories. So with that, I am going to close for the Sherborn Business Association on another interview. And I thank Jim Nelon and Joe Davis for bringing in Memories Unlimited to us. And we will see you again soon.